The snow had been falling since dusk, thick and silent, the kind that swallows sound and makes the world feel smaller, lonelier. Christmas lights blinked warmly behind frosted windows, families gathered around tables, laughter spilling into the night. And right there, beneath a flickering street lamp on the edge of town, a female cop stood alone, her uniform dusted white, her patrol car dead, her phone battery gone, and her heart heavier than the badge on her chest. On a night meant for togetherness, she had never felt so invisible. What happened next, what one exhausted single dad chose to do, would change not just her Christmas, but both of their lives forever. Before this story goes any further, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing the right thing when no one is watching, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this matter because people like this still exist. Officer Elena Reyes had not planned to be alone on Christmas Eve. She had volunteered for the late shift, telling herself it was easier to work than sit in an empty apartment staring at old memories. Her parents had passed years ago, her engagement had ended quietly, and most of her colleagues were home with families. The city looked peaceful that night, but peace can be deceiving. An hour before midnight, a call came in about a stranded vehicle near the old highway access road, an area rarely used now, poorly lit and surrounded by trees. She drove out without hesitation, the way she always did, believing preparation and duty could protect her from anything. But the cold had other plans. The engine sputtered, coughed, and died. The dashboard lights flickered once before going dark. She tried the radio, then her phone, but the cold had drained everything faster than she expected. Snow thickened, wind cut through her coat, and the realization settled in slowly and cruelly. No backup was coming soon. No one even knew exactly where she was. For the first time in years, fear crept in, not the sharp fear of danger, but the hollow fear of being forgotten. Elena wrapped her arms around herself and leaned against the car, watching her breath fog the air. She thought of all the people she had helped over the years, all the late nights and missed holidays, the birthdays celebrated alone. She wondered if any of it mattered when you were standing in the cold, alone, on Christmas Eve, feeling like the world had moved on without you. Miles away, in a small rented house near the edge of town, Daniel Harper was finishing the hardest part of his day. He was a single dad to an 8-year-old daughter named Lily, a child with too much empathy for her own age and eyes that noticed everything. Christmas had been modest that year. Money was tight, shifts at the warehouse were unpredictable, and grief still lingered in the corners of their lives after Lily's mother passed away 3 years earlier. Daniel had done his best, stringing up lights, cooking a simple meal, wrapping gifts with care rather than cost. Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, clutching a handmade ornament, while Daniel stepped outside to take out the trash. The cold hit him hard, and he almost went back in immediately. Almost. Then he noticed something strange down the road, a faint shape near the trees, a reflection of light where none should be. He stood there longer than necessary, listening. In the distance, wind carried a lonely metallic sound, something loose banging against a car door. Daniel hesitated. He was tired. It was late. Christmas Eve was nearly over. But something in his chest tightened, the same instinct that had guided him since becoming a father. He grabbed his coat, his old truck keys, and a flashlight. He left a note on the counter, just in case, and drove slowly toward the sound. When he found the patrol car, snow half buried around the tires, his first thought was concern, not fear. He parked safely behind it and stepped out, raising the flashlight gently so as not to startle whoever might be there. He saw the uniform, the badge catching the light, the way the woman straightened despite exhaustion. In that moment, titles didn't matter. Cop or not, she was just another human stranded in the cold. Elena's training told her to stay alert, but her body was tired, her hands numb. Seeing a stranger approach could have gone either way, yet something about the man's cautious movements, the way he kept his distance, grounded her. He didn't rush. He didn't pry. He assessed, the way people who've lived through loss often do. Daniel took in the situation quickly. Dead car, no signal, dangerous cold. He knew his truck wasn't much, but it ran, and the heater worked if you gave it time. He offered help without conditions, without expectation. In his mind, this wasn't about bravery, it was about decency. They worked together in silence at first, trying the patrol car once more, checking cables, but the engine stayed dead. Snow thickened, the wind sharpened. Daniel realized waiting there was not an option. He gestured toward his truck, explaining the short drive to his home, the warmth, the phone charger. Elena hesitated only a moment. Pride has limits, and survival draws clear lines. The ride back was quiet, filled with the hum of an old engine and the soft whir of the heater. Elena stared out the window at the passing lights, her shoulders slowly relaxing as warmth returned to her fingers. Daniel focused on the road, aware of the unusualness of the moment but not uncomfortable with it. Two strangers, brought together by circumstance, carrying different kinds of loneliness. When they arrived, the house glowed softly, lights warm against the snow. Lily stirred on the couch as the door opened, rubbing her eyes. She saw the uniform and froze for a second, then smiled, the kind of open, fearless smile only children have. Daniel introduced Elena simply, as someone who needed help. No explanations, no labels. Inside, the air smelled faintly of cinnamon and soup. Elena stood awkwardly at first, aware of her boots on the mat, her presence in this intimate space. Lily handed her a mug without being asked, hot chocolate with marshmallows, because in her mind, cold people needed warmth. And that was that. Something in Elena cracked then, quietly. She hadn't realized how close she'd been to tears until they threatened to spill. Daniel let her make the call she needed, charging her phone, contacting dispatch, arranging a tow. The logistics were simple. What wasn't simple was the feeling that settled in, the sense of being cared for without scrutiny. They sat at the small table, the clock ticking toward midnight, snow tapping at the windows. Christmas passed not with fireworks or music, but with shared silence that felt strangely full. Elena noticed the small details, the way Daniel watched his daughter with constant awareness, the way Lily leaned against him, safe. The framed photo on the shelf, a woman with kind eyes. Loss recognizes loss even without words. She realized she had walked into a house shaped by grief and resilience, and instead of feeling like an outsider, she felt welcomed. When the tow truck finally arrived hours later, Elena stood at the door, reluctant in a way she didn't expect. She thanked Daniel more times than necessary, each one sincere. He shrugged it off, uncomfortable with praise, insisting it was nothing. But they both knew it wasn't nothing. It was a choice to stop, to care, to act. The days after Christmas were busy. Reports were filed, repairs were made. Life resumed its usual rhythm, yet something lingered. Elena found herself thinking of that house, that quiet warmth, the child who had offered hot chocolate without question. Daniel found himself replaying the image of a strong woman standing alone in the snow, and the relief in her eyes when help arrived. They crossed paths again weeks later by chance, then once more on purpose. Coffee turned into conversations. Conversations turned into trust. Slowly, carefully, they let each other into the parts of their lives usually kept guarded. Elena learned that strength could coexist with vulnerability. Daniel learned that moving forward didn't mean forgetting the past. Lily noticed first, of course. Children always do. She noticed the way laughter returned to the house, how Christmas lights stayed up a little longer that year, not out of denial, but gratitude. Elena became part of their rhythm, not as a replacement, but as an addition, someone who chose them just as they chose her. Years later, Elena would still remember that Christmas Eve as the night everything could have gone wrong, and yet didn't. The night she learned that even the strongest among us sometimes need rescuing. Daniel would remember it as the night he taught his daughter, without saying a word, what kindness looks like in action. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you that small acts can ripple into forever, please take a moment now to like the video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement helps keep stories like this alive and reaching the people who need them most. And before this video ends, I want to ask you something special. Please comment below and tell us this. If you were Daniel that night, would you have stopped? Or if you were Elena, how would that kindness have changed you? Because somewhere tonight, someone is standing in the cold feeling unseen. And somewhere else, someone has the chance to stop, to help, to change everything, without ever knowing just how much it matters.